Welcome to another Astronomy Tidbits with Steve Layman from CAS, Charlottesville Astronomical Society. And today, Steve is going to talk to us about how busy Mars is going to be this month. We're going to have a lot of visitors, I understand. Steve, do you want to talk to us a little bit about February and what's going to be happening?
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here and talk a little bit about what's going on in February. If I can make sure that things are working. There we go. So I've got a list of the astronomical events for February listed. Actually last evening was the last quarter moon. On the 8th, this coming Monday, AOT stands for Astronomy on Tap. It's an event we've been doing in Charlottesville for about a year. We do it bi-monthly, and in non-COVID times, what we do is congregate at a brewery, different one every month, share some good food, some good drink, and have some interesting talks by members of the astronomy department and members of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory faculty. We've been doing these virtually now for a couple of sessions. And so there's a link to the Facebook page for Astronomy on Tap. And it basically is a Facebook Live type of event. Last time we did one of these virtually, they did a little bit of virtual tasting of some brewed products, and so I'm sure they'll probably start out with that again. And then there are usually about 4 different 10-minute short talks about cool astronomy things. So certainly I would suggest checking out Astronomy on Tap, or AOT, Monday the 8th. On the 10th, there's a conjunction of the moon and Saturn. Remember that a conjunction means that the two objects are just very close to each other in the night sky. On the 11th, we've got the new moon, the darkest night of the month. If you are interested in the future of life on Mars, meaning humans to Mars kind of a thing, the annual Planet Fest, which is normally a in-person event up in Washington, D.C., 2-day event, is going online this year. It's a virtual conference, and you can register with the link that I've placed here in the PowerPoint. The cost runs from $20 to $70 based on how many of the webinars you're going to participate in. This is a really busy month for the planet Mars, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. But the most important date this month is the 18th. The NASA Mars Perseverance rover will be landing that day. And I've got a link to marsnasa.gov, and there's just all sorts of amazing information. Your tax dollars at work, literally you're less than a tax dollar at work. And so you're going to see some of the great graphics and where you can go to find information about this event a little later in this presentation. Also on the evening of the 18th, there's a conjunction of Moon and Mars. Remember that, again, conjunction means that Moon and Mars will be close to each other in the night sky. On the 23rd, the Moon occults Kappa Geminorum, which means that it actually passes in front of. And those of you that have been following these podcasts for a while know that we have talked about the app Stellarium, which is a planetarium app that you can use on your phone or your computer. You can actually load up Stellarium for the night of the 23rd and step through that with the app to see where and when exactly from your viewpoint you're going to be able to see the moon cover the star, and then when the star will come out from behind the moon. And lastly, the night of the 27th is the full snow moon, so-called because more than likely we're going to have some snow on the ground. I know you will have some on the ground at Wintergreen. Folks will be skiing that night. Also, probably a good night to sit inside and maybe read an astronomy book or play with stellarium, because it will be extremely difficult to see much in the night sky that night. The winter full moons tend to be brighter, especially when there's lots of snow on the ground reflecting the light back. So what's up in February? I'm not going to try and play this because I don't always have really great success with this, but if you click on this link, you'll get sent to the NASA What's Up page. It's approximately a 3-minute presentation that will show you a lot of the things that we've actually been talking about today, plus a couple of others. And again, this is something that comes out the second or third day of each month, produced by the folks at NASA. Website of the month. I can't remember whether we've talked about this one or not, so I wanted to bring this one up. It's called Free Sky Maps. It's a great app for you to be able to print out a paper planetarium, which means you can take it out in the night sky and hold it up and kind of help yourself find where things are. The other cool thing about the Free Sky Maps is that it gives you a list of objects that are naked eye, easy to see without any aid. Binocular objects, things that look better in binoculars or a wide field viewing platform, and then things that look cool in a small telescope, meaning 4 inches or maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit larger. So again, Free Sky Maps, www.skymaps.com. It's a great resource, and like it says, they're free. So this is a screenshot of one of the 6 carousel pages on the Mars 2020 Perseverance Rover page. I actually took this screenshot this morning. 13 days, 7 hours, 51 minutes, and 7 seconds at that point to when the Perseverance rover would start to it's what they call 7 minutes of terror as it heads down through the atmosphere of Mars to land on Mars. You'll notice that on this screenshot along the bottom are 4 little areas to click on: overview, watch online, landing info, and meet Perseverance. Those are all active links when you go online, and certainly got more information than anybody would really want to have. Watching online is going to be one of the really cool things that you can do on February 18th. The Mars, or pardon me, the NASA website always gets really loaded down on days where there's going to be a landing. It's a very cool thing to watch if you've never done so. And also, if you're not familiar with what we've been doing with Mars rovers in recent years, Meet Perseverance tells you a lot about the science, the suite of science instruments on board, what each particular instrument does and how it contributes to the overall mission goals. This is another real cool graphic that is literally updating live when you go to this site. You can find out exactly how many miles, how fast the spacecraft is going, how much of the trip has been completed, and how far we still have to go before we get to Mars. And again, this graphic was taken this morning around 7:30, so these numbers will have changed, and the cool thing is you can watch them change by the second as you view this page. The last page that I took an image of was, or it gives you an example of how the spacecraft, once it gets through the atmosphere, is going to get down to the surface. The vehicle that you see above is the transport vehicle. It's what they call the sky crane. And once it gets through the atmosphere, this thing literally carries the Perseverance rover tight under its belly, and then as it gets close to the ground, winches it down to where the rover touches. When the rover touches, those cables get cut, and that landing assist flies off and eventually crashes a pretty great distance away. But it's just a marvel of engineering. When we first started going to Mars, the spacecraft came down and were encased in a large inflatable ball, basically, and the ball would bounce for hundreds and hundreds of yards, come to a stop, and then the spacecraft would pierce the ball, the air would leak out, and the spacecraft would come out. We found that with these larger spacecraft, Perseverance rovers the size of a small bus, it needs something a little bit larger, and so we're now getting things down to the surface using the sky crane concept. So every mission that NASA plans has a certain number of specific goals. The thing that ties the four goals that we're going to take a quick look at together for the Mars Perseverance mission is the fact that they are all based on the rover dealing with geology. And the first thing is to determine whether life ever existed on Mars. And to do that, they're going to be taking a look at preserved signs of biosignatures in rock samples. So you're dealing with geology there. This is actually the first of all of the rovers that we've sent to Mars that's designed to look for images of past microbial life. I don't think we're going to find any large creatures have been preserved, but we certainly expect that we can find things like microbial life. Second goal is to characterize the climate. And if you want to characterize the climate on Earth, you look at things in the topography. And so the rover is going to use its instruments to dig into and to look at the ground to find out if there are spots where the climate shows that yes, it was wet, it was moist here, and that there are certain chemicals that were deposited because of the weather or deposited as a result of the weather, and show that life possibly could have existed in the past. Again, the third goal is actually kind of the overarching goal to characterize the geology of Mars. Just kind of take a look as it digs down and works through the different layers about the different kinds of geologic processes that modified the Martian crust and the different layers of things. And this is actually the thing that we've been doing with each of the previous missions. All these missions tend to have always started with geology as their focus. The last thing is to prepare for human exploration. So Perseverance rover is going to be checking the weather and taking a variety of different measurements that have to do with everything from what the dust is like, what the temperature's like, to the prevalence of materials in the atmosphere, so that we can perhaps use the atmosphere to help us make rocket fuel to be able to get a mission from Mars back to Earth. So you got kind of a short list of these four goals here as part of this PowerPoint, but if you go to that Mars exploration page, each of these four goals is discussed in a lot more detail. So very cool amount of information, and keeping fingers crossed if this rover gets down to the surface safely. For the next couple of years, we're just going to be getting back some amazing science. But the very cool thing is that it's not just our rover going to Mars this month. On the 9th, the United Arab Emirates HOPE spacecraft is going to insert into orbit. This is a spacecraft that will be studying a variety of topics from the atmosphere of Mars, circling overhead. Tianwen-1, which is the Chinese orbiter and rover, will reach Mars on the 10th of February, and the rover will come down at some point in May. What they're going to spend February, March, and April doing is looking for a real precise landing spot and kind of characterizing some things, making sure that they can get their rover down safely. And of course, our rover comes down on the 18th, 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. So it'll be a great day to kind of plan on just sitting down with a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and a snack and just enjoying one of the great opportunities that we as citizens have to watch science being done. So I've got a link down there which takes you to the Mars planetary.org's articles on more detail on the specific missions that are going to be arriving this month. So you might want to take a look at those before the afternoon of the 18th, just so you can be well versed in what's happening. Mars is kind of like a celestial magnet this month with all the expensive spacecraft heading in its direction. So that's all I've got as far as what's happening this month. Most of it's going to be happening around the planet Mars, although I hope you'll go out and take a look at those events that we listed for the landings and arrivals at Mars, and just appreciate the science that's about to be done, and just think about where we have come in the last 20 years. It was just late 90s where we landed our first small rover on the surface of Mars. Now we're landing bus-sized objects that can tell us whether there was life on Mars at one point. Any questions, Kathy?
I think it sounds very interesting. And in fact, I think this is a great opportunity for like Earth science students to maybe even watch and understand, because if they're going into geology, then, or they're discussing it and giving them some background, I think that students might get a little bit out of that as well. So I'm going to pass this along to some teachers.
Great.
So that sounds very exciting. Appreciate, again, you bringing some interesting activities in the night sky, and we'll just keep on looking up until next month.
All right. Thanks a lot.